Hey, welcome back to Livin MN Outdoors. I'm Daniel, this is Russell, and thanks for tuning in to another fishing report. If you guys use any of the guides or resorts mentioned in today's fishing report, please let them know you saw them on Livin MN Outdoors. And with that being said, let's dive right into this week's fishing report. This week we're going to start up on Leech Lake. The recent cold front, it did start to slow down the walleye bite out there, but it's starting to pick back up with these warmer temps. The water temps right now are in the low to mid 70s. In the best depth range to target walleyes right now is in 7 to 18 feet of water. They're scattered all over the different various structures right now, and you need to be willing to stay on the move. Now, some of the best tactics to target those fish: jigging wraps, a jig and a minnow, jigging half a crawler, or trolling crankbaits in the evening and after dark has been producing some really nice fish. Now, some of those areas to target, those sand flats, rock piles, deeper weed lines, they're still hanging out there, but they are a little bit scattered. Now, as far as the perch report, the perch bite is really starting to pick up out on Leech Lake. Deep weed lines adjacent to deep water breaks are where the majority of those perch are starting to show up, along with some of those deeper weed flats. Now, the best ways to catch those is with a jig and a minnow or jig and half a crawler. Now, as far as the muskie bite goes, the muskies are still making their shallow water push. You can find muskies on shallow weed lines, deep weed lines, sand flats, and rock spines. The best ways to catch those are on top waters, jerk baits, and tube. Now, if you do get some muskies to follow but they won't commit, remember, circle back on those fish come a major or a minor, and the dusk and after dark bite has been really strong lately. Now, as far as the smallmouth bass, not a lot has changed there. Main lake rock piles in that 8 to 18 feet of water, throwing Ned rigs, drop shots. Some guys are getting them on bobbers as well. But if you want to fish artificials, the drop shot and Ned rig are the way to go. Now, as far as panfish, some of the weedier northern bays, the deep weed lines is where the majority of those panfish are hanging out. Not a ton of crappies being caught, but quite a few really nice bluegills hanging out on those deep weed lines. Getting those on small jigs in plastics or a chunk of a crawler, or you can throw a slip bobber up in there with a tiny little leech or a chunk of a crawler as well. Now, if you guys are looking to hire a guide up on Leech Lake Guide Team LLC, they have a wonderful crew of guides up there. I believe they have 8, 9, maybe even 10 guides right now. If you want to fish muskies, walleyes, panfish, perch, whatever it might be, they can put you on them and you will have a blast fishing with the guys from Leech Lake Guide Team. Now, if you're looking for a place to stay, Horseshoe Bay Lodge, they have hotel rooms, condos, cabins, full bar and restaurant, big beach, indoor pool, sauna, hot tub, whatever you could ask for to have an amazing time up on Leech Lake. Horseshoe Bay Lodge can provide it. So go ahead, give Cam or Courtney a call and get something on the books. All right, now moving over to Lake Winnie. The bite has been a little bit slower since the cold snap, but it is starting to pick up. Seeing some guys come in with their limits of walleyes. The best depth range for that right now is 9 to 13 feet of water. The best way to catch those is trolling spinners and tipping those with fathead minnows. Now, some guys are still catching them on slip bobbers and leeches, but the majority of those guys are live scoping them. So if you don't have a live scope, I would definitely recommend pulling spinners. A lot of fish down on the south end or on the east side off of the second break. It doesn't really seem to matter on color as long as you can get a minnow and a spinner in front of their face. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, 2 areas. Tamarack Bay is producing some nice perch up in the weeds, and then in 10 feet of water off of Tamarack Point, they're picking up some really nice perch lately. So if you want to get in there, a jig and a minnow or on spinners is working for those as well. Now, as far as the pike bite goes, not a lot of pike are being caught, at least not in the areas where the reports are coming from. I'm sure if you troll in Tamarack Bay with a spoon or a crankbait, you're probably going to pick some up there, but otherwise not getting a ton of pike reports. Now, as far as the muskie bite goes, the muskies are really starting to bite out on Lake Winnie, the east side. They're throwing big crankbaits along with trolling those crankbaits off of that second break, and they're having some really good multiple fish days. I know one guy was out there, he was using a Cisco kid, but anything in that same family of crankbaits is going to work well. So now is the time to be up on Lake Winnie if you want to chase some muskies. Now, as far as the bluegill bite goes, over in Big Cutfoot, they're still getting them there. 10 feet of water off of the weed lines adjacent to deep water break lines. Otherwise, if you're fishing some weeds that don't have that deep water nearby, you can try sliding out in that 10 to 16 feet of water. Vertical jigging them with a tiny little ice fly or a slip bobber with a plain hook is working as well. Now, if you guys are looking for a guide out on Lake Winnie, zupsguideservice, he does still have some all-day availability and twilight trips available. They are starting to fill up though, so if you want to get in with him yet this year, you better get on the phone and get something booked with him soon. Now, if you're looking for a place to stay, the Pines Resort, they have cabins, campsites, full bar and restaurant, fish cleaning shack, live bait, dock slips, boat rentals. Whatever you need to make a successful fishing trip up on Lake Winnie, the Pines Resort can help accommodate that. So go ahead, give Chad a call and get something booked. All right, now moving over to Mille Lacs Lake. The bite out on Mille Lacs Lake is on fire right now, at least for walleyes and perch. The majority of those guys are still fishing them out pretty deep. Today I was told the mud flats anywhere from 26 to 36 feet of water off of the edges, and the tips of those mud flats are the best. Getting them on slip bobbers and leeches still. Some guys pulling bottom bouncers, Lindy rigs, lead core, and picking up some nice fish that way as well. Now, the mud flats aren't the only area you can pick up walleyes. The deep gravel bars are still producing some nice fish, and then on the rocks and anywhere from 8 to 26 feet of water, those fish are starting to transition a little bit slower, especially on the night bite up there right now. And don't forget, starting on August 16th, you can start keeping 2 walleyes between 18 and 20 inches or 1 over 28 inches. Now, as far as the perch bite goes up there, a lot of perch starting to show up, and some pretty big ones. The mud flats, like I said before, that 26 to 36 feet of water, getting them pulling spinners or on slip bobbers. And then you can find them on the rocks in 16 to 22 feet of water. And a few are still out on that deeper gravel as well. Now, as far as the muskie bite goes, there is a pretty good deep weed line bite going on right now. Bucktails, topwaters, jerk baits working well for those. And then, like usual, guys, out on the deep water basins, wherever those schools of tulibies are, there are guys out there casting at them. Usually guys with live scopes are casting, and then guys who don't have live scope, they're out there trolling big crankbaits. Either way, they're out there and they're having success catching those fish. Now, as far as the pike bite goes, deep weed lines, sand, the southern bays are still producing some nice fish. Trolling big spinner baits or crankbaits is working well. Purple and white, silver and white, those are kind of the go-to colors right now. So if you want to chase some big pike, look on those deeper weed lines and in those southern bays. Now, if you guys are looking for a place to stay, want to rent a boat, get a cabin, go out on a launch trip, Castles Resort, they can help accommodate all of that. So go ahead and give Jeff or Kimberly a call and get something lined up with them. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's fishing report. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys could maybe drop an emoji, a hands clapping emoji for how well Russell did sitting here nice and quiet for me. Appreciate him helping out with this week's report. If you guys do get out fishing, take some pictures, send them to us on Facebook. We always love seeing those pictures and putting them in the fishing reports. But remember, be kind at the boat ramps, be respectful of other fishermen, and most importantly, don't forget to get on out there and get living. What do you think, bud? Get living.